I'm a GC that does kitchens and bathrooms, and I've been putting flyers on doors. I've done about 300, but haven't had any feedback yet. Do you think that's a bad idea, and I should be knocking on doors?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try that and see how it goes.
100%. Every time I was to leave a flyer, I'd knock the door first and try to talk to them and get their feedback immediately. I'd be like, check it out. I was about to leave this flyer. Like, what do you think of this? Would you even look at this, or would you just throw it in the garbage? Like, do you need a bathroom remodel? Do you need your gate fixed? I noticed your gate was messed up. That thing doesn't look like it opens. Can I fix it for you real quick? Like, you want to have that conversation. A flyer is only if they don't answer the door. And to let them know who you are so that next time you knock on that door, maybe they'll recognize you. Maybe you can open it up by saying, hey, I left a flyer. Did you see it? Did you throw it away immediately? Like, so yeah, 100%, man, knock on those doors.
And as a side piece, what do you think of 300 as a sample size for flyers?
It's a pretty small sample size, but I mean, I'd hope to have at least a 0.3% call rate, like 1 out of 300. But like had he knocked on those 300 doors, he probably would have talked to like 50 people, and then he would have some feedback. And then he could just get feedback on the flyers. It's like, would you even look at this? I would love to ask people that.
Totally.
Because most people would be like, nah, I wouldn't look at that. I'd throw it in the garbage. Here's a stack of the flyers that have been on my door this week. And there might be like a stack on the floor right inside their door. Like, yeah, the hardest thing in business is not having attribution, which is feedback.
Yeah.
Like doing things, spending money, putting forth effort, and just not getting anything back. Like when you'd give 10 estimates out and you get 0 jobs and nobody tells you why they didn't hire you, like you got to do everything you can to get that feedback. Call all those people every day until they pick up the phone and be like, hey, why didn't you accept my estimate?
Yeah.
Like, what do you have to lose?
Right.
Obviously, you don't want to bug people, but like you're standing here not having a clue what's going on. Go get the information. Go get the feedback.
Yeah. With the flyer thing, it made me think of Hormozy talked about doing flyers for his gym, and I think he said he put out 300 and didn't get anything back, and then he was talking to a mentor, and the mentor was like, how many did you do? 300? Total? He was like, yeah. And the mentor was like, yeah, I test with 30,000, and then I scale it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people underestimate the amount of work you have to do sometimes, you know, and it goes back to like how many flyers do you think are being left on that door, and why is your flyer any different than all the others?
Yeah.
Like that dude I talked to yesterday, he's done a bunch of mailers. He's been trying all sorts of these things. He did like 1,500 mailers. So again, small sample size. But we were just talking through it, and like this is something that's critical. Like you need to understand your customer and what their experience is like. And it's like, okay, you send mailers, like how many mailers were in their mailbox that day? Probably at least 5. And
most people keep a trash can right next to their mailbox, and they do this.
yeah, pretty much. Like most people, I don't look at most of them. Mm-hmm. And then if I did look at them, is like, okay, well, did you offer anything special, or did you just say like, hey, we can remodel your bathroom?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, you know, we like offered like a 10% discount to remodel your bathroom. And it's like, you can go on Google and find 100 of those in 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. So why would anybody pay attention to it? Yeah. So you probably need to send like 30,000 of those to get one interested person, because there will be the occasional person who sees it and they're like, oh, I do happen to need a remodel. I'm getting an estimate for one right now. Maybe I'll hit these guys up too. And so those situations are super few and far in between, and there's a lot of noise. So you just have to like understand that. That's why I put on the little lead gen pyramid I made for him, I put mailers and stuff at the top, because that's the last thing I would do. Yeah. After I did referrals and network and Google Maps and the website and local service ads and Google ads, once I was maxing all of that stuff out, then I might look at like hitting a few certain neighborhoods with mailers or something like that. Yeah. And you might have to send 4 rounds of mailers to the same neighborhood.
Or more.
Yeah.
Or more.
Or 20.
Yeah.
To get anything. So, and then it goes back to what we were those numbers we were running earlier. It's like I have to send 10 mailers. That'll cost me like $100 or whatever to send it to one person. And it's like, well, do you just run the numbers? Like, it might sound like a lot of money to you, but if that $100 makes you $300, then it might be worth it.
Yeah.
So like, look at the whole thing, pencil out all the numbers, get your calculator out, run the math, figure out like what kind of return you need to get for whatever investment in order to make it worth it. And then go about trying to figure out if that's possible, and then do it and find out if it actually happens.